So what about Decadence?
Um, I'm kind of becoming a little disillusioned with it. Not going to lie. I'm still gonna watch it.
Uh-huh.
I'm still gonna watch it, but the the rushing in of Natsume this week and like the woman who I thought that I was like, what happened? I was like, watch this bitch like sacrifice herself because Natsume's gonna be dumb or some shit in the future, like blah blah blah. And it literally happens this same episode. I think of that, and I'm just like, oh my god, like what? But then I don't think she's dead. I just think she like fainted.
Yeah, it looks like she's still alive.
Yeah, it looks like she's still alive, but I'm just like, what?
And you were like, even worse, they should have killed her.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, so that was a test of your own pride? Okay, girl. I knew Kaburagi was gonna show up. I am interested in the storyline stuff because it seems like the closer we get to the end, the more they're focusing on like the android or the cyborgs and like how is this shit actually ran and what are these motherfuckers? Like, are they being created by the cyborgs and did the cyborgs bring along the collapse of humanity? Or are they just like a new natural, like, you know, species that could have cohabitated with humanity, but, you know, humanity are just dicks in general. So, you know, crazy shit happened and now we're in this thing because all of the what are the monsters' names? The Galloids?
Oh gosh. Why would you make my brain work?
The Gaddles.
Terrible name, but okay.
Yeah, I don't like that. But the Gaddles, it seems like all the Gaddles that they saw once that like field disappeared seemed to be like peaceful. Like they seem like herbivore dinosaurs to some
Well, they were the same ones that you saw in the first episode, the big one.
Oh, okay.
But it was like a field full of them.
Yeah. But see, I've already forgotten that. Maybe that was on purpose, but who knows? Also, when they go to like the commercial breaks, there's definitely a bigger machine out there because one of the still shots that they use.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about with the red eyes.
Yeah, with the red eyes, and there's two hands. There's two Deca-Dence hands with it. So I'm just like, oh no, we're gonna get a mecha battle.
We're getting Rock'em Sock'em robots. Come on,
listen,
it's happening.
I don't know when, I don't know how, and I don't know who, but we gonna
the whole Deca-Dence ship is a metaphor for something. So we'll find out what that is.
Deca-Dence.
Right.
So they're gonna deck, and then someone's name is gonna be Dence.
Oh
so
God, please Dence. God no. Let that like, not be the case.
Listen, if it is, I'll be so disappointed. But hey, I'll be like, I was right. I was fucking right.
I had two sentences in my notes about this episode. The first was, this is going to be the dividing line for whether or not people like this show. That was number one, this episode. And then number two was, I was worried if the show had anything to say. I'm actually not worried anymore. I think
really?
Yes. So I will give both halves of this, and I think I can concur on a lot of like where you're coming from on this. So on the first one, I knew that this would be like a dividing point because there are certain decisions in a production, something in any story, that the people writing, if it's a group or the individual author, kind of has to decide one way or the other. The first one is about consequences, right? So are we describing or showing you a universe where there are consequences for actions that will be suffered by characters that we care about? And so that is like the, you know, quasi death scene or literally not a death scene that you described earlier, where there's a choice to be made as to whether to just kill this character or not, and they chose to not kill them, it appears. So that sets a certain tone for the show, and then also the end when they on screen killed was it Kaburagi? Yeah.
Well, is he dead? It looked like they just paralyzed his avatar.
Well, right, but the visual is one of death, but we know that is not the case. So it kind of, after teasing us with killing another character, I feel like the shock of this is much less pronounced. And let's be clear, they kill a lot of people in this series. It's just not named main characters so far.
Yes.
So that's a choice. So that's something that's gonna like bother some people or relieve others. Because I know at least one other person who's watching this who has been afraid since the very first episode that they were going to kill like the little bug thing, or that they were going to kill the girl,
Pike?
or they were going to kill Kabarai. Like they thought everyone was going to die.
Man, fuck Pike.
So that's a choice. So that's one thing that happens this episode. Other choices are you going to get the plot moving with respect to the Kaburagi character rebelling against the system or not? Like, how long can you really delay that? It's probably like a one-core series, so you really can't delay it very long. So they
have to do something soon.
Yeah, so to me, what happened in this episode, since we're about halfway through, it's about the point where he should like do something to buck the system and maybe out himself and get the final act set up so that we can figure out what's going on. So okay, there's that.
I mean, I see we're probably going to get the robot fight scene from the opening,
or something that leads to that, because they haven't shown, like, there's a couple scenes where like she's fighting, you know, monsters and other things, and those haven't yet happened in the series. So maybe there will be a confrontation, but it may not be the exact fight that's outlined in the opening. I don't know yet. I would hope it is, but if they don't, I could see why they didn't do it that way. But yeah, and then there's a couple other choices, right? Like, they could have also just let that whole expedition fail, kill off a whole bunch of characters, and then set up the conflict to be that sort of like meta thing about like the world just repeats because it's all a game, etc.
Yeah.
Instead, they went a different way, which is that this whole idea of like, well, the reason why they were gonna be in this loop is because they hadn't figured out the next stage yet, which is very funny, and it's kind of like it's a different kind of meta. It's more meta to like video games and like online services and that kind of stuff than it is to like I don't know, not meta ethics, but like metaphysics about like the world and shit. But they didn't, so we got an interesting bit of like unknown, which is okay, once he intervened and he beat that monster and it's set up for that fight that nobody was prepared for and wasn't on anybody's plan, what happens after this? Like, there's a whole lot open now in the story about where things could go, because we're off the loop, we're off the beaten track, and none of the characters kind of know what is next. And then the last thing is Kaburagi makes that statement to the administrator, you know, when the guy demands servitude, and he's like, say it, nigga, and he was like, you know, the world needs bugs, and they shoot him. But that's actually a statement of intent about what the show is about. So that's where I wrote, I was worried if the show had anything to say. I'm not worried anymore, because they chose a message that is relatively simple. It's one that fits with everything that has been done in the past. It's not a swerve. We were built up to this whole idea. He even says it in the episode that like the reason why he's like doing this thing that he shouldn't be doing is because this girl woke him up, clued him in, that like, you know, saved his life. That's what he says. So yeah, this logically follows from the decision that we were shown. It's not like a random ass pull out of nowhere. And we know that he's already really good. And we know that like breaking the limits on his avatar is something that A, is possible, B, has been done, and C, would have the effect of allowing him to beat that monster. So everything that actually happened in the show logically follows from everything else that came before, and is not like just a swerve for the sake of swerving. It's not like the most interesting choice, but it ain't boring, and it does set up for new things to happen in the future. And there's a lot of uncertainty. Like, I cannot tell you what I expect to see in episode 6, 7, 8, whatever. I have no idea where the story is going, so I'm intrigued. And we still have like to get information about, you know, how did all those monsters show up? Was it that they were being hidden behind something? Do they have the ability to create them? Like, is what Kaburagi did, because they have the statement where it's like, well, now that all the players have seen the next step, we can't erase what happened. And I'm pretty sure the reason why he's not going to die is because everybody saw him win in the event, and the event was supposed to be legit. It wasn't supposed to be fucked. It was just behind the scenes they were using. They were setting it up to be unwinnable. But he's a hero now for advancing the game to the next stage, and he completed a bunch of shit. So I presume they're not going to kill him, but they're going to get their pound of flesh somehow. They're going to use him in some...
yeah, they're going to use him in some other form of fashion.
Yeah, or they'll, like, blackmail him into doing something else. I don't know. So all I'm saying is this is going to be a polarizing episode for all the people who thought the show was going to become something other than what it declared itself to be. I can follow along with where they're going. They are not making some weird ass like philosophical point yet that it makes no sense, like turning, you know, I don't know, a robot mom that saves the galaxy by what I... And we're not gonna go down that road again. It's not making... God. It's making...
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
It's making sense, and it's not trying to lift too much. It's not no complicated ideas. I'm with it, but if they do some fucking weird shit that is just off the reservation, ass-pull nonsense, I'm off. But I like what they're doing so far. I just hope that your prediction does not come true, and we do not have two Rock'em Sock'em robots fighting each other. Because what does that even mean? Like, that's the whole part of the show that is like living in its own universe that I don't understand. Like,
I just don't want it to go down the path. Very similar, like since you already brought it up, like to Darling in the Franxx, where a whole bunch of shit just starts to unravel in the last 3 to 4 episodes. Like, I don't want to go to space starting around episode 10. If we end up in space in episode 10, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm just gonna put it out there. Like, I don't start setting that shit up now, because eventually the cyborgs like themselves are going to have to like come into the picture, and like how they come into the picture. Like, are the cyborgs only virtual? Like, is the ship that they're on and like them themselves, are they all just like this huge computer processing thing, which is like individual AIs, or are they actually like physical cyborgs?
Yeah, I'm actually curious about that, because I'm not 100% convinced that we have been told a true story. Like,
yes,
that there may be some unreliable narrator stuff happening here, and that would be a really cool sort of twist, where everything you were told about like the cyborgs living on, you know, somewhere else in this game world and everything else is actually, they are actually virtual, and they're controlling these avatars, but they themselves are trapped inside of a false system. And that also, I think that would actually be really cool. I don't want to work myself into thinking that is what's happening, because if it doesn't happen, then I'll be mad that my idea was, or our idea was better. Like, I don't want to set myself up for that kind of disappointment.
I mean, listen, if our idea is better, whatever. I'm still watching it. I'm not like severely disappointed with everything, or like with where stuff is going.
Yeah, like, I feel that. The only thing I will say that's an additional positive is that, remember when we like ran down the list of shows that like the head writer for this had been involved in, and like on the one hand we had Darling in the Franxx and some other ill thought out shit, and then on the other hand we had like Doro Hedoro and you know, Mob Psycho and Banana Fish, which were actually like, particularly Banana Fish and Doro Hedoro are two shows that are on different ends of like the creative spectrum. Like, one's very realistic and grounded, the other one's very like fantastical and like way outside of like normal life. And I think in all of those cases, I mean, Doro Hedoro is an adaptation from a manga series, but like writing wise, this comfort with like wacky weird stuff and then very, very grounded character driven interaction, and then hanging it together and making it work. I actually think that's what I'm experiencing with this series. I think like it's wacky and weird, and you know, they don't shy away from it. But then all the characters are like pretty believable, even like the one-dimensional ones you meet for like 5 seconds. Like, you care about them, and especially the ones you know are human, because you know they're not just like, they can't just get rebooted or some shit. Like, if they die, they die.
So as far as the humans go, I'm actually I felt that there was some sense of panic with like Decadence about to be destroyed, and I don't think it was because of the humans, but I was like, well, if Decadence gets destroyed and those humans die, are those the last humans? Like,
That's what
on
they
Earth?
imply. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, like I'm kind of curious as to if they, because that's the thing though, they didn't even mention like, evacuating them or anything like that. So it's just like, what's going on? And also, I'm on the mindset of like, this isn't the only Decadence. Like,
I
there's
think that's a
probably
big
another
possibility.
one. I think there's like several games going on simultaneously.
Yeah.
And then you have, and so yeah, the cyborg thing it's the cyborg. I mean, it's weird to me. No, it's not weird. It's intriguing to me because they also mentioned that like that Galloid was in development.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
so you guys are making these,
Right.
also?
I mean, remember there's that weird that part where they're training and he's like, "Oh, well, this is just like a newbie zone." And the monsters are literally respawning in there.
Yup.
So there's a lot of like intriguing things that are there that are not explained. I'm not even a person who says everything has to be explained. They can leave a lot of it hanging out there to like what's going on. But I'm still into the characters who are the strongest part of the show, as well they should be. I'm still into the world because it seems like it has room to expand and grow. I'm still into the visuals and the music. Music is actually really good.
Yeah.
I may not have the ear that you have, but like this particular episode, I heard a lot of good themes. I felt like the sound effects and everything else were awesome, and I could even get into like the fight more because of the way they were put together. And let's not shortchange that. Kaburagi wrecked that motherfucker.
Oh yeah. That was I actually enjoyed that scene where he released the limiters, and I was like, oh, shit's happening. Okay.
My nigga went plus ultra, so.
Yeah, he really did. I was kind of just like, this is interesting. Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
So I think I'm on the side of really liking this and being relieved that even though they didn't reveal an idea for the show that was like particularly well developed or like or off the beaten path and interesting, what they did choose was something that can be executed on with the tools they've already shown me exist in their creative basket. So kudos for that.
Yeah, I'm definitely more into the world than I am the characters right now.
Gotcha.
Like,
yeah,
absolutely more interested in the world. But then, yeah, I mean, it's nice to come at it from two different perspectives in the first place. So whatever. I have high hopes. I have high hopes. If you had never mentioned the Darlie and the Franks thing, I probably wouldn't be as worried. But now,
there's
every
always
time I'm
that
looking
chance.
at it, I'm just like, ugh.
So
okay,
I'll say something
nervous.
that like my mother actually said to me about live performance, which like I was never a big play person or like even going to like shows, like musicians, all this stuff, because I would always feel like, if I like them or I like the story, like I'll just read the book because I like books and it's right there. Or if it's music, like they record it, I listen to it. I don't need to go out and see it. And one of the things that was related to me was this idea of like, well, half of the entertainment of a live show is the possibility that it might fail.
Yeah.
It's that these people are they're juggling a lot of balls. They're keeping a lot of balls in the air. And if anything goes wrong, like, you're not going to get the perfect performance. There's going to be at least quirks or tweaks or changes or things that are unexpected. And at worst, the whole thing could just fall apart. And so the audience is part of that tension with the performer of like, we're all in this. We're trying to make this thing work. Let's hope nothing fucks up. And I feel like that's actually now something as an adult I look for. And I see it in a show like this where I'm right now very much entertained and I'm locking eyes virtually with the creators and saying, all right, nigga, don't fuck this up now. All right, just... You're going for you could have done a triple axel, but you went for the double. So just stick the landing. Stick the landing, and we're gonna be cool. That's
it. We'll see.
Right.
I want the landing to be great. I have faith. I'm just a little. I had a whatchamacallit. I actually had like a Twitter interaction with another anime podcast.
Ooh.
I think the other night, and they Animania podcast, and they had like listened to like a small like our little like Deca-Dence segment. They didn't listen to the whole thing, but they listened to like the clip that I had posted on social media, and they were like they were saying that they needed us for their last episode because they were like they don't know what the fuck is going on, and they've already established it as a failure in their own book.
Well, shout outs to Animania, and I mean it's also subjective too. The things that we might pick on and say, what is this? This is really detracting from my enjoyment, are not necessarily things that other folks would pick out. So
yeah,
I guess I tempered my enthusiasm because of prior disasters, but I'm also willing to give shows a lot of rope to go and try things and do stuff. And, weird, not awesome, but still interesting projects, to me, are successes. They're not failures.
Yeah.
And I think this is better than that. I genuinely think that it's hard for you to point to a place in this production that is bad. Visually is interesting, colorful. Animation is pretty well done. They've chosen to do like aerial maneuvering of bodies that is hard to animate and look good, and they seem to have figured out a way to choreograph that. Looks fine. Music is on point. Opening theme is pretty good. The characters are interesting. Some shit is ugly as fuck, but like it's not like unintentionally ugly.
No, Pike is ugly. Fucking hate that thing.
Pipe is disgusting. Pipe needs to be put in an oven and just like
and you know what? With that recent revelation of all the bigger, well, not the recent one, but like their introduction to like all those other Galloids in the bigger world and shit like that, I'm like, oh, Pipe is going to be very important. I can feel it.
And that's another thread that they have hanging out there that could be interesting. And so that I can't be mad if about a show where the central message is being unique and being yourself is important. Like that, everyone can understand that. You don't need a PhD in developmental psychology to appreciate that kind of a message.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, the better. I mean, I could go in circles about this all day because I have all the theory crafts in my head for it, and I want it to be good. And I have a feeling that it's going to follow through. It probably won't be revolutionary, but I just really enjoy it because it's at least trying to do something different. Yeah. There are definitely some like tropes in it, of course, but it's trying something different, and it's not, no, it's not an isekai. It's not an isekai.
No.
So
it's an inverse isekai.
Yeah. So,
because the cyborg players are playing an isekai.
But then where are they?
Because they're controlling avatars. They're virtual, but they're controlling avatars in a physical world.
Which also makes me think, are they actually in Deca-Dence themselves too?
Right, exactly. So that's why I'm like, there's neat little things like that where you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Fuck me up for the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, those first 2 episodes were really a doozy. Like, I was so... I
remember when you messaged me and I was like, bro, I have no fucking idea. I gotta watch this shit. Then I watched that shit. I was like, oh, I really don't know what the fuck is going on now.
Okay. That's all I have to say for Deca-Dence.
Yeah, me too. Are you following anything else?